So hello and welcome everyone to Southampton Road, just outside of Russell Square. My aim today is to bring you my first review of an express route. Today it's the X68. Now, the reason I'm doing it today is because, as you see in this bus stop, you can't see X68 anymore. Instead, you see SL6, and that is simply a renumbering of the X68 coming into place from Monday as part of the Mayor of London's Superloop programme. Now, this doesn't mean that there'll actually be any changes to the route itself, or its frequency, but it raises the whole purpose of the route, which is to connect the areas served by Route 68 and 468 in a faster period of time. And when the route is numbered SL6, you're not really going to know that. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to review the X68 before its renumbering. See, it's down there. Today it's using an Embaro 400 MMC, which is very common on this route actually. And I've only seen one other bus. It can of course also use MCV Evo Cities and Wright Clips Gemini 3s. But sadly, I've only seen one bus apart from an Embaro from MC today. Now you can see on this bus there's bits of white writing, and I'll explain to you why that exists in just a moment. And you can see it just looks like a typical Embaro from MC inside. Nothing different to any of the other MMCs at Camberwell Garage.
The bus does not stop to let anybody off until I get to West Norwood.
Now, the information on that piece of white writing is one of the many unique features of the X68 that will be retained when it is renumbered. Whether the white writing itself is retained is yet to be seen. But before it's renumbered, I should explain that the X68 is one of 3 X-prefix routes in London, the other 2 being the X26 and X140. And obviously all these 3 are going to be renumbered, so soon there will be no X buses at all, just SL. Now back onto those unique features. So, unlike the X26 and X140, which exclusively connect the outer areas of London, the X68 is radial. So it runs between Russell Square in the centre of London and West Croydon in the outer suburbs. What's more, whereas the other express routes run all day, the X68 only runs at peak times and in one direction at a time. So in the morning, 12 buses depart West Croydon for Russell Square between 5:45 and 8:25 a.m. And then in the afternoon, the same number of buses depart Russell Square for West Croydon about between 3:40 and 6:50 p.m. So a very limited window indeed. Although I guess it's ideal for commuters going to and coming back from work. And the complications don't stop there. Now this is where I'm going to refer to what was written in that white writing. Now the reason the X68 is an express route isn't because it's a limited stop route throughout, unlike the other express routes at the moment. It's actually because there is a complete non-stop section in the middle between Waterloo and West Norwood. And even better, drivers have a choice of two routes in this section. They can either drive via the traditional routes of the 68 and 468 via Elephant and Castle and Herne Hill on Camberwell Road and Walworth Road, or via Kennington and Brixton, like the bus I'm currently on is today. And I think this is a great feature because it means you never know which routes your X68 is going to take, and as a result, there's a bit of excitement involved in guessing. I think bus drivers generally tend to go via Brixton because, well, it's quick, as you can see if I zoom in on the road ahead of me. There are literally barely any cars at all, and so the X68 doesn't even have to use the bus lane. And now the situation is vastly different via Camberwell Road and Walworth Road, because there's deadlock traffic there all the time. So, you know, Brixton, far superior route, in my opinion. Now, I talked about the non-stop sections. Obviously, there are two other sections as well. But the slightly sad thing is the fact that the X68 isn't actually any better than any other bus routes in the areas between Russell Square and Waterloo, and between West Norwood and West Croydon, because it actually stops at every single place that another bus would. The only difference is that the bus exclusively picks up in the first stopping section. Doesn't matter which direction you're going in, that's how it is. And it only sets down in the final stopping section. Now, in a review like this one, I'd normally talk about the history of the routes, but I'd say the X68 doesn't actually have that much of a history. It was established in October 1986, at the same time as the 168, running between Russell Square and West Croydon, via Holborn, Aldwych, Waterloo, the non-stop section, to West Norwood, and then Beulah Hill and Thornton Heath. The routing hasn't actually changed at all. I guess that's kind of an indicator of just how important and useful the route is. In terms of the only other changes really have been the changes in operators. So when London Transport was privatised, during the privatisation of transport in the early 90s, the route passed from London Transport to Arriva London, and then in 2006 it passed from Arriva to Go Ahead London's London Central subsidiary in 2006, where it stayed ever since. I guess you could say that this renumbering is the biggest event that's taken place in its history so far. Now, on to the advantages and disadvantages of the route. Firstly, I call few bus journeys relaxing, but the non-stop section between Waterloo and West Norwood is just that, in my opinion. No stops, first of all, and secondly, you know, I love the feeling of just cruising past all the other buses. And literally, the bus is literally right now is doing just that with this bus on the left-hand side. It's a great feeling to know that you know, bus you're on is the best, and it's kind of speeding past all the other buses. Absolutely love that. Secondly, unlike what I would have expected, you know, it's 5:30 p.m. as you can see there, and the bus I'm on isn't actually that full. On the upper deck, there's quite a lot of free space still, and I don't have anybody sitting next to me. So, you know, not what I would expect. And that actually adds, in my opinion, that adds to the relaxing feeling of this route. Everyone's got their own space, which is quite nice. Next up, I think the X68 is also quite good for London's most famous landmarks and tourist attractions. I guess it's not one of the purposes of the routes, but it's just something that makes your journey all the more pleasant, I guess. So on one side you've got the likes of the London Eye, Houses of Parliament, in my opinion a Golden Jubilee Bridge and Charing Cross Station are also big attractions. And on the other side you've got St Paul's Cathedral, Cheese Grater, Walkie Talkie, Oxo Tower and the Shard, all there. So many landmarks indeed. You also get a good view of Strand, and then the south of Waterloo Bridge you got the IMAX cinema, and I think, honestly, do think you'd say that see Brixton is an event in itself, or Camberwell equally, but I think the reason it's unique to me is because it's completely full of life and activity. When it's lit up in the dark, it's particularly beautiful, especially, you know, Underground Station and Electric Avenue. And it's a real contrast to all the emptiness that you'd have seen of during COVID. And it's just great to see that, you know, people are getting back together and meeting up. Those two places are huge hubs, and make no mistake, that is a great thing. The X68 also runs to a pretty decent frequency, every 15 to 20 minutes. So as a result, it's not the end of the world if you miss your bus, because you don't have to wait too long until the next one. But make no mistake, the bus route does have its disadvantages. I think, obviously, you got the two stopping sections at the beginning and end. I do think that those sections, there could be less stops in those sections, in my opinion, because especially in the section between West Norwood and Croydon, it literally stops everywhere. I think on one of the services I took a couple of months ago, it actually stopped at every single stop between West Norwood and Croydon. So going back on to what I said earlier, it's no better than taking the 468, for example. I don't like that. I think that you know, it's got to be a little bit faster even in those suburban sections. Secondly, you know, I did say that I did show you a clip of the fact that there wasn't much traffic along the road I was going on. That's not entirely true. Later on, especially in Brixton town centre, there is quite a lot of traffic, and you know, it does take a very long time to get through Brixton town centre. It's a lot worse, obviously, on the Camberwell side, and you know, even on Whitehorse Lane and Whitehorse Road, there is still quite a lot of traffic, and you know, a journey takes between, you know, maybe 1 hour and an hour and a half to complete. So it's not, you know, the train is a lot quicker. Made no mistake about that. And finally, I think the biggest disadvantages of the routes, biggest disadvantage is that, obviously, unlike the X26, which has got its a beautiful airplane livery, and as I showed you at the beginning, the buses used by the X68 are no different to those used on any other normal bus route, and so some passengers regularly confuse the X68 with another bus route. On my first journey, someone actually thought it was the 188. Now, perhaps it's just down to the people who take the routes, but I do think that the kind of the anonymity of the buses used also plays a part in that. And I guess that's one of the good things about the the renumbering of the routes, the incorporation into the Superloop network. The buses are going to be receiving a beautiful kind of two-tone look with some white at the top, so it is going to be more distinguishable. The SL6 is an express route. Now, in conclusion, I'd say the X68 is a tricky one, but I think we do need it. The 68 and 468 simply aren't good enough when connecting the areas served. They just take way too long because they both use Camberwell Road and Walworth Road. X68 is a bit of a change from that, and it is quick. And I think the purpose of the route is absolutely vital. You know, there are disadvantages to the routes, but you just kind of got to take them on the chin. They're not as bad as some of the other disadvantages I've seen on buses. The road quality on the route is quite good, so the journeys are quite comfortable. It's not that bad. So it looks like the next stop is mine. What's left for me to do is walk down the steps of the X68 for the last time. Thank you. Let's say goodbye for the last time. Bye, bus. See you never.